Chapter 252, Epilogue. As soon as Klein's fingers touched the black eye, he heard illusory sounds as a throbbing pain seared through his head. But at the same time, something strange appeared in his vision. These were countless illusory black threads that spread out from Miss Bodyguard and his own body. They emanated from their bodies, out into the void towards some boundless distance. This was a scene that would horrify people with trypophobia. Klein suddenly gritted his teeth, unable to endure the corruptive feeling any longer, as he placed the black eye into the iron cigar case. Everything restored to normal, and the negative side effects he suffered subsided. Only then did Klein have the energy to make guesses. Is that the essence of a marionettist's beyonder powers? It allows one to see and control certain threads, connecting every person's body and spirit. What a pity that it's contaminated. The side effects are too great, and it cannot be used as a mystical item. For now, disregarding an attempt to purify it above the gray fog, this will be considered the second time that I'm provoking the true creator, so it is very likely that he would prepare himself and seek me out. If that happened, I probably wouldn't have a chance of reviving again. I should learn and master the relevant knowledge before making a decision. Phew. He exhaled, and after Miss Bodyguard chose the crude paper figurines and the corresponding materials, he bent down again to pick up the 13 pounds 5 soldi and 8 pence. Then, looking at Risego's headless body and the blood all over the floor, he said, with a slight headache, "Let's clean up the scene." The pale blonde Miss Bodyguard floated to the side and calmly said, "Let me do it." "You?" Klein stopped, puzzled and shocked, before turning his head. Miss Bodyguard floated to Risego's side, crouched down, and went to lie down over the body. She slowly sank in and fused with the corpse. The fingers of Risego's body twitched twice, and the blood, brain matter, and fragments around it flowed backward, forming a new head at the neck. However, the head was covered with countless cracks, just like a disgusting toy made from tiny fragments. It was like glass that had been shattered but didn't crumble immediately. There was still blood and brain matter flowing inside it, as well as the reflection of the bullet from the revolver. Klein couldn't help but take a step back, feeling that this was definitely one of the most terrifying forms in any ghost story. Risego's corpse climbed to its feet, picked up the police cap, and half covered its face. The murder scene had been cleaned, leaving zero traces. Incomparable professionalism, Klein marveled in his heart. He watched as Miss Bodyguard steered the corpse to lumber to the door. He subconsciously warned her, "Don't take a carriage or walk in brightly lit places. It would frighten the carriage driver and other passersby." Miss Bodyguard didn't stop, completely ignoring his words. Suddenly, Klein thought of something. He realized what he had overlooked as he quickly added, "On the way back, go to the Rice police station, Sergeant Faxane's home, or search around Minsk Street for the clothes Risego was originally wearing." Risego came wearing a police uniform, and the powers of a faceless were obviously limited to himself, so where were his previous clothes? He couldn't have been wearing a police uniform all night. If MI9 and the police found Risego's clothes nearby and realized that I'm not hurt, things would be a little tricky. Miss Bodyguard is an expert that's not considered a legal beyonder. For a normal detective to pay 1,000 pounds to hire a bodyguard is enough to arouse suspicion. Klein kept thinking, trying to seal all the loopholes ahead of time. Just as he was about to use his divination ability to help Miss Bodyguard find Risego's old clothes and return the missing uniform, Risego's corpse paused and replied in a rusty voice, "I know." She seems very confident. "Oh, right. Miss Bodyguard's state is between the physical body and the spirit body, and the principle behind divination is to travel the spirit world with an astral projection. Thus, she can rely on her instincts to divine." Having realized this, Klein didn't say another word. He handed the cartridge case to Risego's corpse and watched it open the door, walk out, and close the door politely. "The spoil of war that I chose is a beyonder characteristic contaminated by the true creator. I believe that no one would be able to divine it. Even if they did, they would feel the danger ahead of time and wouldn't dare to proceed with the divination." While thinking over the matter, Klein walked back to the sofa and sat down, feeling a lingering sense of fear. The battle had lasted no more than a minute, nor had it been fierce enough to destroy anything. But the ferocity and danger of it had been second only to what he had experienced when facing Megos and the baby in her womb. Even with the powerful Miss Bodyguard and the language of foulness, he had almost fallen under Risego's control and killed without being able to put up a resistance. The ability of a marionettist is very odd and very powerful. According to the law of beyonder characteristics conservation, the beyonder characteristic left behind by Risego should include all of the main ingredients of the potion sequences 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If it wasn't contaminated by an evil god, if it was matched with the supplementary ingredients, an ordinary person could instantly become a sequence 5 beyonder. Of course, this kind of advancement method, one depending entirely on luck, has long been abandoned by history. It's the most primitive and most dangerous method. Advancing step by step according to the sequence is the best way that has been verified by the lives of countless predecessors. If I can get rid of the corruption of the true creator in the future, then I can also use the beyonder characteristic left behind by Risego when advancing from sequence 6 to sequence 5. The additional characteristics will only make me stronger, like the captain. As Klein recalled the past, he raised his hand to pinch his forehead. He turned to think about something more important. Risego's appearance meant that the struggle for the manuscript had ended. Could his lack of charms have to do with him finishing all his charms in the battle? To come at such a critical juncture, it's likely he had the intention of diverting attention. Heh, MI9 probably didn't expect him to seek revenge so boldly under such circumstances. They didn't send anyone to monitor me and could only passively wait for Risego to give them the signal. Risego was Backerland's assistant, and his actions should be directed only by Backerland. After his death, as long as Backerland is dead, there would be no more latent dangers left. I wonder if the assassination has begun or if it succeeded. Tonight, because of the battle over Helmasuin's manuscript, the powers defending Backerland would be at its weakest. If it were me, I'd definitely not miss this opportunity. I'm sure Backerland didn't think that someone would assassinate him. With nothing to do, Klein fished out a coin and recited with a suppressed tone, "Backerland is already dead." Ding! The penny tumbled in the air and fell down into the palm of Klein's hand, head facing up. It meant a positive result. Backerland is dead. The assassination was a success. Klein was overjoyed. His tensed-up nerves immediately relaxed. Without Risego's interference, he believed that the result was correct. This matter has finally ended. Klein took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. He leaned back slowly on the sofa and looked out of the window at the faint crimson moon amid his fatigue and relief. Inside the Inti's Republic's embassy, 2 military officials were squatting beside Backerland's body, examining the cause of his death. Their partners and their superior had already gone out, chasing in a bid to capture the assassin. However, everyone knew that it was already too late. There was no hope left. Their severe lung damage, suspected to be the result of a disease, an extremely strong fatal blow, one much stronger than all the sequence 5 beyonder attacks I've ever seen. One of the military officials said in a low voice, "Disease, on the floor and on the bed, there are obvious marks of flesh and blood magic on the ground and on the bed, but none on the wall. Besides, the commotion of the fight wasn't transmitted outside. Finally, with the lethal blow having the characteristics of corruption and obliteration, there are at least 4 unconnected beyonder powers." Another military official stood up and began to describe the situation as if he was talking to himself. He suddenly stopped and looked at the other military official. They said in unison, "Shepherd." After a few seconds of silence, the squatting military official frowned and said, "It might be a group with at least 4 different beyonders." "Then we'll wait to be judged. It's normal for us not to discover the infiltration of a single rose bishop, but how did the other 3 do it? It's impossible." The standing military official denied the guess as he hesitantly said, "However, I have heard of another sequence that can create similar effects. I think it's called Scribe. I don't know what pathway it is, nor do I know which organization it belongs." The squatting military official nodded and said, "A shepherd is the prime suspect. The Aurora Order are a bunch of lunatics. It's nothing odd for them to do anything. Let's begin investigating the identity of the woman that seduced the ambassador. Damn it. The Lone Kingdom definitely won't permit our investigations. Those Aurora Order bastards are lunatics who deserve to be fucked by donkeys. The standing military official shook his head in frustration. They were bound to be punished for the ambassador's assassination. At 15 Minsk Street, Klein pretended as though nothing had happened. Putting up with his fatigue, he flipped through the papers. After about 20 minutes, he suddenly saw Miss Bodyguard, in her black regal dress and long, pale blonde hair, appear in the oriel window. "Is it done?" Klein subconsciously asked. Miss Bodyguard nodded slightly without a word. "Phew." Klein thought for a moment before saying, "Thank you for your protection. This matter ends here. I'll pay you the remaining £900 in 2 days. As you know, there's a withdrawal limit. Or should I hand it over to Merrick?" The pale-faced lady opened and closed her mouth, her voice seemingly ethereal as it echoed in the air. "Just give it to me. I promise to protect you for 3 days, not just once. Lady, you really abide by the contract. However, this would be very inconvenient for me. Are you going with me to catch the adulterers in bed tomorrow? 3 days. Today is Thursday, and the protection would be over by Sunday afternoon." Yes, thankfully, it wouldn't affect the tarot gathering. Klein rubbed his forehead and said, "All right, how should I address you?" "You don't need to know." Miss Bodyguard lifted her Gothic regal dress, bowed slightly, and disappeared from the oriel window.